Good afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to our first Senate meeting for the fall semester. We'll go around and make sure we just do a quick sound check, and we'll start with Robin Boniface at our downtown Phoenix campus.
Hello, we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you. And at our Polytechnic campus, Nancy.
Nancy's out of town. I'm substitute her. Hi, we're here.
Thank you. I'm glad you can hear us. That's right. She's receiving an award right now. We have Joan McGregor here. We're good. And then on our West campus, Owen.
Yeah, we're here. We can hear you.
Eduardo.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. So again, welcome to our first Senate meeting. I'm Donna Cataldo, if you're not familiar. Of course, in order for us to kind of conduct business, we need to kind of get a quorum calculation. So we'll go ahead and you'll see that you have clickers on your desks. Although the screens are blank, they do actually work. So if you'll go ahead and maybe just select your campus. Once we get the slide up in a second here, guys. In the meantime, though, these are our current University Senate Standing Committees. Thank you for everybody. But, and you see that we are still looking for positions. This is not an opportunity to put your head down and pretend like I can't see you, though. No worries. There you go. So if you would please just go ahead and select your campus. This is not a trick question.
Anyone who voted really early, you want to go ahead and vote again. Please go ahead and vote again.
Hey, Chuck, do you mind reinitiating the share? We're not able to see it.
See, I would not have done it that way.
Everybody's got an opinion. Okay.
If you're having any problems with your clickers, just ask for some help from UTO or someone in the room here at Tempe campus.
Well, it looks like we have a quorum. All right, then. So let's go ahead and we'll post our trivia question, please. Thank you, everybody, for voting and making sure we're on par. So our first question is, shared governance at ASU is executed by following policies and guidelines found in which of the following? So go ahead and make your selection, please. Must be a pop quiz behind us. We can hear a baby crying from Tempe, so somebody's having a bad start. Well, it looks like we have a quorum vote again, so we are good. So hopefully you all selected very well. All of the above. So all of the above is the correct answer. So just a quick note also, one of the regular reminders that we do is that if we do lose video, we'll go ahead and have a 10-minute kind of adjournment, stay put. If we can't, so long as we have audio, we'll move ahead. But if we lose video and audio, after 10 minutes, we'll just cancel, okay? At that point, we'll just call this meeting to order. And I wanted to just, for 1 minute, if we could, maybe take a moment of silence to honor the life of 60 years service and life of our Senator John McCain. Thank you. And if I may just read a very brief quote that he provided earlier in the day, that was a Fair World statement that I thought was relevant to us here in our Senate and our academic assembly. I owe that satisfaction to the love of my family. No man ever had a more loving wife or children he was prouder of than I am of mine, and I owe it to America, to be connected to America's causes, liberty, equal justice, respect for the dignity of all of the people, brings happiness more sublime than life's fleeting pleasures. Our identities and sense of worth are not circumscribed, but enlarged by serving good and causes bigger than ourselves. So thank you all for your time, and I would like to go ahead now. I'll put the educational piece till after. Instead, I would like to go ahead and ask our University President Michael Crow to come up and speak, please.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I think what I'll do today is try to have some focused remarks on where we are at the opening of this semester, and then leave enough time for questions, if that's all right with you, Dr. Cataldo. And so we opened the fall semester. I apologize for sounding somewhat like a broken record, with all of our records broken, and these are good records. Freshman retention, record. Graduation rate last year, record. Class diversity for our freshman class, 12,700 freshmen, record. Incoming academic quality as measured by several indicators, record. Diversity, record. Fundraising, record, $250 million plus, the largest fundraising year in the history of the university. The year before that was the largest ever. The year before that was the largest effort ever. An 8-fold increase, 8 times the level of fundraising that we had just a few short years ago. We have, in fact, while not setting or establishing a goal for fundraising for the university, which is what universities commonly do, they set a campaign goal and then it becomes all about the money. I refuse to set a goal, but we did have a range that we were hoping to achieve, and we have exceeded that range of $1.5 billion. Now, the last time I gave a talk with some of these numbers in it, I immediately got messages from some faculty members, one faculty member in particular that said, well, now that you have all this money, what are you going to do with it? If only fundraising worked that way. So 99% of our gifts are what are called restricted. So the person will say, I really want to fund Joan and her program between philosophy and the law. And so Joan gets money for that. Or I want to fund a scholarship, you know, in my father's name or my mother's name or my family's name or something like that. And so these funds also, when they go to the endowment, become a long-term play. So our endowment is certainly in the top 100 or so endowments of the country. It's larger than almost any endowment of any entity that became a university around 1960 or later. We're raising a lot of money against it, but endowments are financial plays that take 300 years to be realized. And so if you put $1 million into an endowment, you get $45,000 to spend per year. Million, so that you can always have the 45,000 going into the future infinitely. And so it's a long-term play. Our numbers associated with research. So we believe that we have broken the $600 million research expenditure number, which is an unbelievable achievement. And so if auditing proves that to be the case, which we believe that it will, there's 7 or so universities on the entire planet that don't have medical schools that have $600 million a year of research expenditures. That's an unbelievable achievement by our faculty. We have almost 2,000 individual faculty members who are funded by outside funding sources. That's a huge number also of our 3,600 faculty. We have over 10,000 individual projects. Our students, our faculty are continuing to win award after award after award, so many that people keep telling us to stop sending them so many messages. And so I get these messages back from people. Enough. I don't need to know that there's 14 Career Young Investigator Awards awarded at ASU and only 11 at MIT or wherever, or some other place. No, we need to keep pushing this and pushing this. In fact, Mark and I and several others met with our student government leaders earlier last week, in which we listened to them after their summer retreat, where they go off as student government leaders and they articulate that which they think is most important for the university to achieve for them. Their list, which we can share with you, their list is unbelievable. They're focused on the health and well-being of other students and what else can we do to achieve that. They are focused on how do we get students to understand the quality of the education that they are achieving. They are sometimes disappointed by the cynicism of some of their individual faculty members who portray an outlook of the world that they do not see. They're actually positive about the future. They're excited about the life ahead of them, and the 63-year-old professor that she or he is talking to them about, you know, all the travails and traumas and how different the world is than whenever they grew up, they're like, I don't care about that. What I need to do is to be prepared for the world that lies ahead. And so our students are filled with vim and vigor and aspiration and achievement. I mean, one of the things that they're most focused on is how can all of the ASU experiences for all ASU students on all campuses be fair? Well, why is it that the library on the Tempe campus is open 24 hours a day? Or why is it that there's a 24-hour study space on the downtown campus, and, you know, at the West campus and the Polytechnic campus, it's chopped liver? And so those are valid points. Those are it's really quite remarkable what we're hearing from our student leaders, the way they construct specific objectives around each of the areas about student well-being and student success and student achievement. They continue to be concerned about what they think of as enhancements that should be made in academic advising. They'd like to get more from the faculty. They'd like to be more engaged. They'd like to be working on more projects. They'd like to be working in more things. Another thing that they are really tremendously focused on is, believe it or not, using an old term from when I was in high school in 1971, school spirit. They want to feel connected to the institution in every possible way. And that can be from clubs and activities to events to sports to everything, which is why we have very high student attendance at our sporting activities, as well as many other activities around the university. So all in all, things are moving in the right direction. Politically, you know, we have a state primary tomorrow where some decisions will be made, and then we have a general election in 10 weeks or so, at which time we'll know where we are with the legislature, we'll know where we are with the governor. Our proposal to the legislature and the governor remains the same. Please modernize your thinking about the university. We are no longer the whining, hand-out complainer about funding the university because it's your moral duty to fund us. What we've really said is, we'll fund the university. We'll make that work from every possible way by being entrepreneurial and creative and building partnerships and developing new sources of revenue and doing things like online education where we're able to benefit students while also generating new revenue coming back to the university. And what we've said is, forget all that, just fund the kids from Arizona, of which we have more than 52,000 on campus. Just fund them. And just fund half of their cost of education. And believe me, if we had, Mark will laugh at this, if we had a victory, a political victory, we've had a number of political victories on a number of different fronts, but we have a number of political defeats. And last year we fought really hard on certain matters and convinced some people to go our way, but nonetheless, we don't yet have an investment model in the institution. So there is no funding model for Arizona State University from the general fund as administered by and approved by the legislature. So think of them as a board of directors. 90 members, each elected from their neighborhoods. They come together and they decide how much they're going to collect from everyone and what they're going to spend it on. You're familiar with this process of taxation and spending. They have not decided how they want to fund us. One of the tormenting things for me is that some of them say, you're doing very well the more we cut you. Don't have a heart attack. Keep going. Eventually we can get you down to nothing, and you'll be better than ever. And we say, au contraire. It's a fool's game. We need investment for the people of Arizona so that their cost of attendance, their cost of being able to come to the university can be as modest as possible. Now, we do that with a lot of our own resources, but if we were just to get the funding model that we have proposed to the governor, which is half of the cost of attendance, we would have roughly, in the present proposal that's on the table, more than $140 million per year of new resources at the institution. That's huge. That's huge. And that's at a reduced level, even below the level of the actual cost. And so we're making progress on that, believe it or not. We think we're making steady progress on that. And we have continued to protect and defend all of the other means by which the university is acquiring resources to advance the institution, some of which are complicated. Now, some of you may have read the Lake Havasu newspaper. How many of you read that on a daily basis? Well, they're apparently concerned that we are taking state taxpayer dollars and buying buildings in downtown Los Angeles. I don't actually know anyone stupid enough to do that. This institution is 90% non-financed by state taxpayers. And the facility that is being acquired in downtown Los Angeles is being acquired by resources associated with our endowment, which makes a certain percentage of investments related to real estate. We'd like to possibly use one of those investments with a facility in a key neighborhood for some of our programs, potentially in journalism, in film, in technology transfer, in a range of other areas that we're looking at. And so we are not using state resources for anything other than supporting the students from Arizona attending the university here in Arizona. Our state resources go for nothing else. How do I know that? There's so few of those resources. And so it is also the case that we turn out to be a place that is generating immense energy from our relationships in California. So unlike some people that I've talked to in Arizona that view California as apparently the source of all evil, I'm from California. And so it turns out not to be the case. So about 85% of all of our venture-backed companies and investor-backed companies that have spun out of our faculty are backed by funds from California, venture bankers, investment bankers, and venture capital firms from California. We have more than 12,000 or 13,000 students from California right now as I speak, paying full tuitions beyond the tuition levels associated with in-state students. We have probably 1,000 major employers in California that are seeking our graduates for employment. And in fact, some of them were a key strategic ally of those employers. And those employers have facilities in Arizona, facilities in California, thinking of a company like Intel, or a company like Orbital Sciences, or a company like Boeing or Apple. Apple is a significant employer of ASU graduates both in California and in Arizona. And so I'm not going to walk through the logic of the notion of somehow it's foolhardy to pretend that California, with its 40 million people and its economy larger than the economy of France, isn't important to Arizona. It turns out that it's probably extremely important to Arizona, and we will continue to do everything we can to leverage that relationship. We're now clearly operating in three significant simultaneous realms of education. Full immersion, on campus, technology enhanced, with give or take just under 75,000 students. Do we know the exact number yet, Mark? But it's going to be just 73, 74, 75. My guess is around 74. 74,000 on-campus students in the full immersion setting. Digital immersion, online technology-enhanced learning is the second realm, with about 32,000 students, give or take. 35, which is going up very rapidly. It is very rapidly. 35,000 students. And then there's a third realm. Those are all pursuing degree programs of our 170-plus online degree programs. And the third realm that we're operating in is digital immersion, open scale technology-enhanced learning. This is where you're not admitted to the university. You're taking Frank's class in astronomy through the Global Freshman Academy, or a math class, or an English class, or a history class, or a philosophy class. And so I don't know how many are signed up right now, but we've signed up between 400,000 and 500,000 individuals have signed up for these classes and pursued these classes, and that number is accelerating. And within that program, we're beginning to see more activity. That's, by the way, from every known country on the planet. And so we are rapidly expanding those activities. And then there's a fourth realm that we're still operating in experimentally, which is what we call education through exploration, E2X. And what we're looking at there, or ETX, what we're looking at there is game-based learning. So one game that we've put out now, which has 175,000 users, is called Me3. You can look it up, Me3 at ASU. Has anybody taken Me3? I've taken it. It's a game for high school students. It's a game for people thinking about going to college. It's a game for a person to help them know the path to college. You answer 60 visual questions. When you're done answering the questions, it says, well, Mark, I think you're maybe interested in these kinds of career areas. And if these are the career areas that you're interested in, these would be the majors that you would be interested in. And I see that you're a freshman at Mountain Point High School, and therefore you need to take these courses at your high school to make progress. Now, each of you may have had highly focused parents that guided you through everything that you did. That was not the case in my case going to college. My dad just wanted me to go to college someplace where they paid for my clothes and my food so that he wouldn't have to. And so, not that he didn't want to, he just said, you know, you cost too much. You eat too much. You wear your stuff out too much. You just need to go somewhere where they pay for all this stuff. And so this Me3, just take it. So Provost Searle, what did Me3, when you took it, what did it say you should do? Psychologist or a counselor. So mine said that I should be, yes, mine said I should be a talent scout or a movie producer. Seriously, that's what it said. And it gave me like 40 different majors, all of which I thought were really cool, and 5 or 6 of which I wanted to major in, and 2 of which I did major in. And so it's just looking back as a retrospective thing. It picked stuff that I was really interested in. It picked majors that I was really interested in. It's just funny. Poor old Panch, Seth Raman Panchanathan, our chief research officer, he's sitting next to me on a plane hooked onto the internet, and he's taking it. And I say, Panch, I already know what it's going to say. Well, let me do it. Let me do it. So he does it. It says he should be a computer systems administrator. I said, exactly. And so I'll tell you a story. This will be my last story. So we had some visitors to our house, and one group was there, and they were a family of a friend of ours. And these were folks who had just come to the United States. They really weren't sure where they were going. They had an 18-year-old young daughter who was just graduating from high school. And I said, well, what are you doing next year? Are you going to community college? Are you going to college? Are you what are you doing? You're going to technical school? And she was, no, I don't know what I'm doing. So I said, well, have you thought about college? She said, no, they don't have anything in college that I would be interested in. I said, well, how do you know? So I convinced her to take the Me3 on my computer at home. So I went away to get something to eat, and I came back, and she's sitting at my desk, and she's crying. She had taken the thing, and it had said that she looked like she was most interested in a major that would be in a theater department focused on costume design. And she said that was what she had always dreamed of. All she did was answer the 60 questions. You don't ponder, just do it. You don't ponder, you just answer the question, whatever one is most attractive to you, whatever it is, they're just visual representations. And whatever geniuses figured this thing out, it doesn't always get it right. I think they think they're about 90% on track. Or you can just say, I'm not going to take the test, just pick the things you're interested in. Then it shows you your track to college. So that's a game-based learning platform in Realm 4. And so we're working on more of those. And so those are the realms that we're presently working in. We're making great progress towards those ends. And I think the one other thing that I would say is we met with the deans this morning. The provost invited me to the deans council meeting. And so one of the things that we're working toward is pushing more and more responsibility to the colleges to generate their own trajectories, to not be as reliant upon the central team for all resource additions. Some schools are doing this significantly already. Others are beginning to figure it out. Some are trying to figure it out, and some are just getting started. And so that's going to be a shift for us. I don't know what to call it other than decentralization. We want more push, more movement at the unit level, at the school level, at the college level. So with that, those would be my opening comments. If there are, do we have time for questions or no time?
Sure.
Okay. So it's up to you.
Do we have any questions for President Crow from the downtown Phoenix campus? Any questions?
No, Donna, we don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from, sorry to shoulder you out. No, no, you're good. Any questions from Owen and West Campus?
No, we don't have any.
All right. Thank you, Owen. And from Polytechnic Campus?
No, we don't have any. Thank you.
And don't see any questions in Tempe. Anyone? All right.
All right, so I'll just say one last
please.
thing, and that is that I just want to remind everyone, so I've taken the last few years to stopping every time that I can to talk to a student that I can tell from my own experience with my own children and my own siblings and my own growing up is in distress. They are in distress. Something has happened, something is going on. And I have found in 90% of the cases, if I approach the student in the right way, they'll actually tell me what is distressing them, in general. In half of those cases, I can convince the student to listen to me, and maybe I can get them some help, whatever it is. So there was, I've said this story before, but I'll just use it as an example. I was in, I think, the Starbucks on the downtown campus in the Taylor Place building, and this young woman walks up to me. Turns out she was an international student from China. She's hysterical. She's weeping. She's all completely agitated and a flutter. She's convinced that she's going to be deported any minute because she has missed some requirement to get some internship, which is required because she doesn't have some document and this and this and this and this and this and this. And so chances are that may have, ended up in, a student maybe dropping out or failing or something, going home. And so, I made a call to the nursing school and I said someone's got to work and talk with this student to sort of work this out. It did get all worked out. It all came about. It was something. And so and I won't walk you through all of these, but there's even some even this week and last week as students just got here. And so if we actually said to all of ourselves as faculty, every time I see that, I know sometimes, you're like running and there's two kids crying on the bench or something and you're not quite sure what it's all about. But if, as often as possible, you could just say, can I help you? Do you need anything? Is there something that you need? Let me give you my card. Call me right away. Let me know. What's your name? So a few times I've gotten their name, and then we've gotten deans of students to contact them. And there was one student who had sent me, so sometimes I send out a lot of messages. And some students who are having troubles then send back messages that are quite nasty to me. Profanities, and this guy said, he wrote back and he said something, why should I listen to you, you blah, 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 blah. I think he called me a lard ass or something, And so, which might be true, but nonetheless, it's not what you would expect a student to write back. So then we engage the student immediately, realizing that that's a student in stress. No one would do that unless they were under stress. So eventually, what's kind of interesting, I had that student in my office. A couple months later, we'd gotten him a counselor, we'd gotten him some other stuff, and he said this was the first time anyone, the institution, not me, but the institution had responded to his trying to figure out what he was going through relative to his mental health. He had gotten to the right doctor, he'd gotten the right medicine, he was back on track, he was feeling great, I have several undergraduate advisees and mentees also. I try to make sure that all of us should have, I don't know how many of you have undergraduate mentees, but we try to spread the students out throughout the institution. And so young man I saw the other night, I was over here when the power was out and there were 5,000 freshmen without power, 6,000 freshmen without power in their dorms, and we weren't sure if it was going to last all night after one of the storms. And several people called me, so I decided to drive over here to make sure we were not going to fall apart. And so I passed on that day one of my advisees from last year who had dropped out. He had some very significant issues, and I saw him smiling, big smile on his face, walking by, holding some girl's hand. I said, I won't tell you his name, but I said, I'll make up his name. I said, Bill, looks like things are going in the right direction. He said, yeah, I'm back in school and I'm smiling. And so that was a function of doing something that all of you have the power and the capacity to do, which is to connect to our deans of students, connect to our counseling service, connect to these students. And so for whatever reason in the culture of the institution, I'm not suggesting that these things aren't going on. I'm suggesting that they're not going on enough. So all of us, or not all of us, but many of us have children. Many of us have had siblings. We know what life stresses are all about. And all these students need is just a small hand of help connecting them. So that would be really, really helpful to us on a lot of ways in terms of helping with retention and students feeling that they have a chance to be successful and so forth. So next time you see somebody, and if this happens and it works the way that I'm describing, write me and let me know. I stopped and I talked to Sally, or I talked to Horst, or I talked to whoever, and then this is what happened, because you will feel something when that happens. And it has worked that way for me. And, we're all very busy, but we're not that busy. That we can't get somebody's name, that we can't figure out how they're doing, that we can't give them our email. And then it really works in the right direction. So thank you, everybody, and we'll try to keep everything moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and kind of skip back to, there's a piece that kind of have a bit of an educational report before I get into the chair's report, please. And just to go ahead and kind of maybe provide some insight onto, maybe that's a little bit, provide insights like, oh my gosh, that's just too much. But just some insight on how do we go through and how do we put motions together, looking at first reads, second reads, all the basic components that make up what is a typical Senate meeting. For those of you who are new, this may be new. And for those of you who have been here for a few years, it's your third term, thank you for serving, and of course to all of our new chairs. But this is just kind of a flow chart that was requested. You ask for it, you'll get it. It won't necessarily be straightforward, but just to kind of show you kind of the development of, how a motion is developed and processed. So, it basically comes from yourselves, all of our academic assembly, all of our faculty members, and like you, put in a lot of hours and work together to get this process before, and work on it before it kind of comes back to us here at the Senate. And then once the motion has gone through kind of all the committee processes that I have gratefully had a lot of success with finding new chairs, so thank you, will come to us at the Senate agenda. So that's where you're kind of seeing what is our typical agenda here. And then kind of moving down, you'll see first reads or second readings and first readings, kind of looking at our old business versus our new business. And just that, the first reads are just simple kind of informational, public announcements and general kind of overview of what's been done through the committee work. But it's not really a point of discussion. It's just more kind of sharing what the committees have been doing and what have they been working on for new courses or new proposals. But it really is at this point where you guys as senators can really have a great impact. Make sure that you're coming back to your units, your programs, to make sure that they're aware of it, because it may be pretty relevant to them. It may only affect you and nobody else on the different colleges. So that's where you really have to be kind of the voice of your group, which can be enormously helpful. I've seen it in my own college as well. And that's where you want to make sure they're familiar with what might be relevant to their program. The second read really is where our CAPC chair will kind of present the final version after we've had maybe comments come back from different senators, or we've had comments back from the different committees, so they've had a chance to kind of consider what you've given us, provided feedback, and make revisions or modifications as necessary. And then at that point, kind of allow for a discussion if there has been something that may be of concern that you want to present in front of the Senate. And at that point, we can have a discussion and see if there is something that we need to kind of vet further, discuss further. If not, that's when we come to a vote, okay? And we always will make a vote on these, but we want to make sure that before we do that, have we heard everybody who has a relevant concern before we move ahead, all right? And then with that, too, we've had before when we look at these second votes or these second reads where we vote, kind of the concept of the consent agenda. And so sometimes there's maybe been some concerns with understanding on that piece, so I thought I would defer to our expert, Denise Bodeman, our parliamentarian, to kind of talk about what is the consent agenda and how does it work? Because she has much more elegant and long-standing information on this compared to myself. Thank you, Denise.
An expert. I'm an expert. Okay. We have, as was already mentioned, we have motions. First reads and second reads. First reads are just meant for you to know what we're going to come up to vote on. Second reads are when we actually vote. We also have the consent agenda. The consent agenda is meant to make the meetings shorter. It's meant to kind of, for anything that's really not controversial, and everybody's pretty much going to agree with what it is, instead of reading every single motion, it is put into one document that we will consent to. Again, this is not meant to be anything controversial. It's just kind of like housekeeping. That's what consent agendas are. Now, occasionally, somebody will see something on a consent agenda that they think needs to be changed. In that case, you simply ask that that item be removed from the consent agenda. Everything else on the consent agenda, we accept. But that one item, we will then discuss after we pass the consent agenda without that item. And we will treat it as a regular motion. So, for example, today we have 10 things on the consent agenda. These 10 items have already gone through CAPC, the Curriculum and Academic Program Committee, which is made up of senators, and where we discuss the pros and cons of each one of these things. And instead of having each one of those individual things read and discussed and voted on, we can just say in one thing, you guys agree? Yeah, we agree. That's what the consent agenda is.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just a good review. You know, it's been summer. We'll kind of lose some of that information, and we'll be doing this shortly, so just as a quick review. So on that note, I'll go ahead and begin the chair's report. Before I kind of get into it, I just want to, because we kind of ended pretty quickly last year, again, welcome our new and returning senators, all of our new chair members, thank you. But just to highlight our Senator Spotlight, who is, she's like, what, me? So, yes, this was back in the spring, but Stefania Triconia, we just didn't really get an opportunity to kind of highlight her service, in that she is with the School of Mathematical and Statistical Services, and we are fortunate that she has served as senator for 6 years, thank you, and has been actually here at ASU for 20 years, and is her first teaching position. Is that correct? Yeah. So fantastic. We're so fortunate to have her. And when asked what had she learned during her time in the Senate, she reports that faculty can have a voice in developing ASU policies. I've learned about the process of improving new courses and programs, about the role of the various Senate committees, and how the Senate works with ASU administration. I've met faculty members and administrators outside my unit that I would never have met otherwise, and I greatly appreciate the effort our faculty puts into shared governance. So, you know, really has had a long-standing career, and we're just really grateful to have her as part of our Senate. So thank you, Stefania. So on that note, I will go ahead and get to the kind of the report. I'll fill you in what kind of loose ends from last academic year and kind of bring you up to speed to what we're to today, essentially. So from finishing up, kind of tying up items from last year, just in case you're not familiar, the 2017-2018 annual report was completed over the summer, and it's up on our website and distributed to essentially all of your deans, chairs, directors, any of the senior leaders. And whenever people ask, what do we do at the Senate, this is a great one-stop shopping site to show exactly what we do all year long. So it's a great way to answer that question, and they'll maybe regret it. They're like, wow, that's a lot, and that's why you're all so tired. It is a lot. When we look at kind of the academic integrity initiative, that was part of creating a platform where we have uniform procedures for entry into a single database that would allow our faculty to kind of share in that academic integrity process and follow maybe students that we have concerns with across the different colleges. That's still an ongoing process because it's no small measure, and that they're currently putting together kind of a best practices list that I know one of our downtown Phoenix campus president been working with Stephanie Lindquist about kind of putting together best practices, and they'll be doing kind of visiting the different campuses, I believe, starting in October to kind of share what they've been working on, as well as maybe get some faculty input on some of those pieces. Online task force was something that our former UAC chair and president, Senate President Arnie Mulse was working on. We have gathered that data and we're kind of distilling that down into its basic elements, and we'll start to generate a report on that to kind of get you some insight moving forward. We're already seeing, as our President Crow identified, our online numbers are increasing, which is fantastic, but we want to make sure that we try to get ahead of that a little bit so we can address any concerns before they occur. We have the luxury of foresight. Let's try to do it. Senate Motion 2018-37, which I'm sure you remember off the top of your head. These changes were approved, and in the ACD manual, these were some of the mandatory items that were to be included on the syllabus. Those were approved, and kind of we're in the process now of working with our provost to maybe provide a link of those key aspects that we need to include on our syllabus that are kind of hard to keep track of. So that way, we have just a link that we can access. We can just append that to our own syllabus, which is just our coursework. Something else to consider is in February of 2018, the Senate transmitted a letter to President Crow, and that we wanted to work to strive to be in the top half of our ABOR-approved peers in terms of salaries. He has, of course, responded, and the response letter is, of course, available on our site as well. So you can absolutely go and take a look at that. Our committee that was tasked with that, our personnel committee, will be following up as well. Other business is also Senate Motion 2018-32 on graders and TAs was initiated last year as well through the Senate, and at your request. The motion was declined mostly because it was more looking to have all the units to work together with their faculty in the development of maybe a written policy regarding course enrollment limits and allocation of course support, and mostly because the needs and the resources of units can vary from year to year. And a fixed policy might undermine some of the success and resources of each unit to move forward at their own level of need. This is a long agenda. We've been busy. So just a couple of items. We approved Senate Motion 20, the Senate approved a motion back in 2016-17 regarding a policy on military students when they miss assignments. Not so much that they're looking for an incomplete or for a full withdrawal. That was, again, approved, and the policy will reside in the SSM manual and will be cross-referenced with our ACD. That's something that we're just completing up. The Personnel Committee also reviewed the dependent documentation requirements. If you recall last year, I know it's all a blur, and it found it maybe was an undue burden for some individuals that you're coming with different names, having to kind of maybe change your name documentation is a little bit of a process, and so asked if our employees and our faculty could be released from that requirement. In the interim, just recently a letter was drafted within the HR office by Kevin Salcido and was just recently sent out, again, within the last couple of weeks to the Arizona Department of Administration. So that was really a lot of work that was really kind of spearheaded by Hong Min Lin and Becky Ladd. So thank you to them and for Kevin Salcido pushing that through. Student Faculty Policy Committee, also based on some of the input we got back from our faculty, was looking for a 4-day-week summer schedule, that the provost did recently approve as well. So we'll follow up and submit that for everybody's review just so you can kind of see what that structure looks like. And then the last piece is, really just, again, reminding myself to make sure I thank you all for all the service you do, and that you really are our connection to our faculty and our connection to the unit level and our chairs and our deans. So make sure that what we do here, you guys communicate, because it's a lot of work that we all do, and make sure you're maybe listening to your own faculty within your own units or your own colleges to make sure we hear what they need, or maybe have concerns with that we can help and kind of put those, some of those things into action. And that is it for the chair's report. I promise they won't necessarily be that long. Again, so we'll move on to new business. I'll ask our new chair that some of you may not be familiar with, our new CAPC chair, so thank you again for agreeing to do this. This is Lily Wang, and I'll let her step in and take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, the following motions and proposals will be taken up at the CAPC meeting this Thursday, August 30th, and then will be brought back to the Senate for a vote at our next meeting on September 24th. So as always, if you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions, please get them to me by Thursday so we can make sure that they are addressed at the CAPC meeting. So, and certainly let us know before the next Senate meeting so we can make sure that all parties that have an interest can be represented. So the items listed in Appendix A will be brought up at the CAPC meeting, but will not be brought up before the Senate. So if you have any questions or concerns or suggestions, please get those to me by Thursday morning. So here are the motions. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Historical, Philosophical, and Religious Studies for the disestablishment of an undergraduate certificate, Southeast Asian Studies. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Department of Psychology for the establishment of a graduate certificate, Applied Prevention Science. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Earth and Space Exploration for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Field Geology. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Dean's Office for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Veterans, Society, and Service. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Historical, Philosophical, and Religious Studies for the name change of an undergraduate certificate from Political Thought and Leadership to Political History and Leadership. Request from the College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the disestablishment of a graduate certificate, Biospecimen Repository Administration. Request from the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering for the establishment of a graduate degree, MS in Robotics and Autonomous Systems. Request from the new College of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, School of Mathematical and Natural Sciences for the establishment of an undergraduate degree, BS in Computational Forensics. Request from the new College of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, School of Mathematical and Natural Sciences for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Applied Cybersecurity. Request from New College of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, School of Mathematical and Natural Sciences for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Data Science. Request from the College of Public Service and Community Solutions for the name change of a graduate degree from MS in Program Evaluation to MS in Program Evaluation and Data Analytics. That's all for the new business.
Thank you. Thank you. And then now for old business. This is looking at the new course proposals and the consent agenda that Denise Bodman so eloquently presented to us. So again, just reminding you, this is information that you received back on August 13th as you sorted through all your student emails, no doubt. All these courses, again, have already gone through unit, college, and university level review and are now being presented to the Senate for kind of our final global review. And again, as Denise mentioned, typically non-controversial, but just want to take one last opportunity to see if there's any need for a discussion on those courses that are in the old business. So I'll go to the different campuses and see if there's anything that people have concerns about or would like to see removed. So I'll start again with Robin in the downtown Phoenix campus. Any discussion on the old business?
Everybody okay? No, we're fine. Nothing to remove.
Thank you. And how about in Polytechnic campus?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. It doesn't look like we have any discussion down here. Okay. And then Owen, over in West Campus.
No discussion here either.
All right, well, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on the consent agenda.
If you have any problems with your clickers, make sure to raise your hand. Someone can help you out.
Thank you, Chuck.
He's coming down right behind you.
I want to make sure to record everyone's vote.
Travis, we'll bring over another clicker if you need it. Okay, I think we're good. She voted.
Perfect. Well, looks like we have a great quorum, so thank you, everybody. And then we'll go ahead and have a, for our CAPC agenda, consent agenda.
So the following proposals were approved at the last CAPC meeting in April 26. Request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of an academic unit, Department of Biomedical Informatics. Request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of an academic unit, International School of Biomedical Diagnostics. Request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of an academic unit, School of Nutrition and Health Promotion. Request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of an academic unit, School for the Science of Healthcare Delivery. Request from the College of Health Solutions for the disestablishment of an academic unit, Department of Speech and Hearing Science. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of International Letters and Cultures for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Globalization and Culture. Request from the College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the disestablishment of a graduate certificate, Community and Public Health Practice. Request from the College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the name change of an undergraduate degree from Health Innovation BS to Health Entrepreneurship and Innovation BS. Request from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication for the disestablishment of a graduate certificate, Business Journalism. Request from the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, Division of Teacher Preparation to change the academic organization of an undergraduate degree, BAE in Educational Studies. So this is up for vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Lily. So again, this will be a consent agenda. I'll make sure to go to the campuses again, see if there's any concern, if there's any discussion that we want to have over any of these that were proposed just now that we saw back in April. So again, Robin, any discussion on these on the downtown?
No, we're fine, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Polytechnic campus. Any discussions there?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Owen and West Campus?
None here.
All right. And any concerns here in, doesn't look like we're all good here in Tempe. So again, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote. If you all would please. Looks good. Give everybody a minute. Yeah, I think we've got a nice cohort presented. Thank you, everybody, again. Now, at this point, we'll go ahead and move on to committee chair reports. We just have one for our Committee on Committees, and I'll ask Chris Kaiselko, the chair, to come and speak for us, please.
This concerns a follow-up item to the recent survey that many of you completed, where senators who are in need of a committee assignment could indicate what committee they would like to serve on, and this is regarding to the University Senate Standing Committees. So the following, which you are viewed, are presented as new members of the University Senate Standing Committees. This slate is presented as a motion from the Committee on Committees for Senate approval.
Thank you, Chris. So I'd like to go ahead and hopefully you've all had an opportunity to kind of review the standing committee slate and see if there's any discussion around any of the campuses. Anybody have discussion or concerns that they want to provide? Pardon me? Of course. Chuck, can you go ahead and put the list up again? Thank you for asking. Yes. Hi.
Hi, my name is Dan McCarville. The Student Faculty Policy Committee, does it have just 5 people on it? Or I think there's one on the next page, right? Yeah. It just seemed a little...
I don't think that's the full cohort. Yeah, this is just new members.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. New members. Yeah, no, it's a very good, distinct point of clarity. These are just new members, not standing members. You're all still in. Okay. Please.
Frank Timmies, CC. Does volunteering for a committee put you on any committee or the committee that you volunteer for? That's
a great question. We ask, as you probably saw when you completed the survey, we do ask for your preferences, knowing that and that if we have an overwhelming response, which is always fantastic, we try to match people with their requests. It doesn't always fall out that way. Yeah. Of course. Any other questions or points of discussion from any of the campuses? Anything from downtown? Nope. Okay, Polly?
No.
And West?
None here.
All right, thank you. And any other comments or questions from Tempe? I don't want to rush anyone. All right, well, if that's what we have for discussion then, we'll go ahead, please, and call for a vote. All right, looks like we have a good representation. Thank you, everybody, again. That being said, that's my agenda for what we have to cover for today. open forum. If anybody has questions that they want or any statements or topics that they would like to present that we can maybe pursue. Hello.
Hi, my name is Crystal Griffith, School of Film, Dance, and Theater. I'm reading some statements from faculty in my department that are concerned about a recent requirement for insurance for independent contractors. It'll take about 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So what's going on here is the School of Film, Dance, and Theater is very concerned about the impact of requiring liability insurance for guests. It must be paid in advance by the guest, and they must have proof of insurance before their invited presentation. They are paid after their presentation, and the turnaround time can take a while, particularly with the new with the new payroll software system, which is making everyone pull their hair out. Look at what happened to me, and I'm not even doing it. But the point here is that the requirement for insurance probably will not affect people who just come in and do a talk and they, walk across the stage and they work with a dry erase marker. The School of Film, Dance, and Theater, the particular emphasis, the particular impact will be on theater and dance, where people actually do things and they could trip and fall and hurt themselves. This has never happened. No one has ever hurt themselves or sued the university. Okay, so this new requirement this is from the School of Dance. This new requirement compromises the quality of education for all of our students in the School of Film, Dance, and Theater. High-profile events which connect ASU directly to the community, locally, nationally, internationally, will be on hiatus as a result of this new rule. For example, Urban Soul, which has a 7-year history of great success at ASU, with thousands in attendance and at least 700 students involved, this event will be on hiatus as a result of this rule. Many artists who we rely upon to build out and fortify these events come from marginalized communities. For example, women, people of color. This ruling creates a selection process that haves and have-nots. This ruling creates a selection process for haves and have-nots. This is not an environment of equity and inclusion, two of ASU's main values. Overall, this rule does not honor or fulfill ASU's charter values such as equity, inclusion, enhancing local impact, and social embeddedness. In short, it does not support ASU's, quote, fundamental responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of the communities it serves. Dance has a high-quality relationship with local practitioners, and many of these guests are slated, and many guests are slated to visit this semester. The opportunity for students and true representation of the guests in these courses is now compromised. It affects the curricula of these courses, which have numerous students enrolled, numbering at least 500 students across Herberger Institute and ASU. There are several suggestions. I'll put those at the end. From the School of Theater. Members of the USA Scenic Design Union have been told not to sign these types of contracts. Thus, it eliminates us from any union designers. We have 2 designers scheduled this season. This is true also of the Directors Union. This would also affect guest designers, directors, and performers. When we bring a guest to teach a class or 2, the amount that we typically pay them is quite less than the cost of the insurance that is being required. This would eliminate any of the emerging artists, the up-and-coming performers, and underserved communities. We have spent 8 years building a community for Urban Soul, 600 attendees, Come As You Are Ball, 250 attendees, Latin Soul, 500 attendees. These programs have been always under-supported financially. The artists are never paid what they are worth. Now we would ask them to provide this insurance that would be cost prohibitive. This impacts our programs as well as recruitment and how we're viewed in the community. We've given a lot of lip service to helping underserved and emerging communities. However, this again shows how little support there actually is. Some of the recommendations are, can we purchase a blanket insurance policy for the school or Herberger Institute for the Design of the Arts that would cover the independent artist? Are there other agencies that will help with the insurance program for these artists? Is there any chance that an exception can be made, given that the semester has already started and the invitation of guests is ongoing? Why not rewrite this rule to take into consideration what the arts do and what a quality arts education requires to ensure student success and growth? I would like you please to consider this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for presenting the information and even providing some plausible solutions. We'll definitely pursue this because that obviously impacts both students, faculty, and the community. Thank you for sharing that with us, sincerely. Any other concerns that you can share with us that we'll be certain to follow up with? Anything from anyone have concerns from downtown Phoenix campus they want to share?
No, I don't believe we have anything. Thank you.
All right. And how about our Polytechnic campus?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. And then to follow up, West?
None here.
All right. Thank you. And everybody's good here in Tempe? All right, then. Well, on that note, thank you all for your afternoon. That will complete our first Senate meeting.